Do you need a filter when you're speaking English? I'm Deborah, your English tutor, English for English teachers mentor, and I'm here to guide you towards excellence. So, do you need a filter when you need to speak in English in front of other people? I'm here to help you find out what to do if that's the case right now. So, let's jump and dive right in. This is Teachers Talking Time, the podcast for English teachers. So let's go. Yes. Um, some filters, they don't just touch up your appearance, they change you completely. They change your face, they change your eyes, they change your lips. They turn you into somebody else, which is really weird, right? So, usually having some filter to touch up your appearance to make you look a little bit better, your skin a little bit smoother, I don't know, the colors more vivid is fine. But using filters to completely change who you are, that's something else. That's something that is dangerous. And many people do it in their English. They do it with their own English. How come? Yes, how so? By simply trying to embellish. They try to embellish when they come online. They try to embellish their English when they talk to other teachers, when they talk to speakers of the language in such a way that they're not being authentic anymore, in such a way that it's not themselves anymore. Let me know if you have ever seen those kind of speakers of English who try to put an accent that it's just not theirs. Have you seen? I've seen plenty of those, like people who think British accent is pretty and they want so bad to sound British that they sound artificial. It's not them. You listen and you go, oh my God, this person is so uptight, so held back. That's not a natural person. That's especially if you know the person speaking Portuguese, you say, that's not the way she speaks Portuguese. Why is she being so formal, so serious, so, put together? Because she's speaking English. Simply because they're putting a filter. And I've seen that happen countless times. Hey, Fabio, welcome everyone. So these sort of filters, when you use them to your English, you may take the risk, or you may come across as somebody who's not natural. And then again, of course, we have to set boundaries here. We have to, establish some expectations. It's virtually impossible or very difficult for us as Brazilian speakers to be exactly the same or to express exactly the same depth of ideas or thoughts in English as we do in Portuguese for a number of different reasons, right? Unless you were born in an English speaking country, unless you started studying the language at a very early age, or you were, for example, you moved when you were younger than 5 years old or something like that, and you grew up in a bilingual environment, unless that happened, the way we process language and feelings is different in both languages, right? Let me know if this concept is clear to you. Let me know you're familiar with this concept. But when we learn English at a later stage in life, for example, I actually learned English when I was older than a teenager, and I went to a formal English school when I was around 20. So I didn't it's kind of I learned English from a detached background. So there was not this emotional environment, surrounding my English learning. It was more of a cognitive process rather than an emotional process. Although there has always been this emotional attachment with songs and things that would touch me deeply, although it was harder in the beginning, to make this parallel between, hi Emily, between emotions and the language. So that's why so many times if you see this question, oh, if you stub your thumb, if you stub your thumb on a chair or on a table foot, Are you going to swear in English or in Portuguese? Even if you are living, if you've been living in the US or in an English speaking country for a long time, chances are you're gonna swear in Portuguese. Why? Because your primitive instinct is to react in Portuguese or your native language, right? If English is your second language, you will do it probably in your native language. Uh, and this is clear. This sets the example clear between this emotional attachment and this more cognitive approach to a second language. So it is only natural that you're not your 100% in Portuguese or in English. Of course, the structure is different, the jokes are different, the culture is different. The more it hurts, the more Portuguese we sound. That's it. Well, you may even, I don't know, I think that sometimes I say bad words in English, but it also has to do with this emotional detachment. And I'll tell you why. When I was little and as I grew up, bad words were not allowed in my house. My mom never allowed us to say bad words. So, in a sense, using bad words in English makes me feel as I'm not doing something wrong, you know? I don't have that emotional attachment. I don't have that taboo. Oh, don't say bad words. Don't say bad words. Saying bad words is horrible. You should never say bad words. This is in Portuguese. If I say bad words in English, I don't have this pressure. So you see that even when you're swearing, or even in reactions so primitive as swearing, we still have this kind of connection of the emotion, right? Of what's right or wrong, acceptable or not acceptable. You see, I can see that in this kind of background, it's easier to use bad words in English. They don't carry so much weight. Yes, they're not as heavy as the ones we use in Portuguese. But when we think about using filters in your English, this has happened so many times. I gave you here the example of people who try to put up an accent that's not theirs, and they don't actually master the entire accent thing because let's be honest, right? Even if you have a very good accent, for example, I consider my accent to be to be pretty smooth, actually. I've had, native speakers of the language asking me where I lived or because my accent's pretty smooth. But even so, the way we breathe is Brazilian. The way we gesticulate is Brazilian. Do you understand that accent goes far beyond the way you pronounce the words? That this kind of filter, I'm telling you, goes far beyond the way you articulate words. It goes from the way we move and our tone and the volume of our voices, the way we protrude ourselves into communication, right? So that is kind of very, very challenging to pad up, you know, to so if you try and you say, okay, so from now on, I'm going to only use British English because I think that's so beautiful and it's far more sophisticated than the American English. I've studied British English my entire life. I can put up a British accent. But that's just not me. You see, that's just not me. I cannot be as natural as I am here talking to you, interacting using my own level of English, telling you who I am if I try to put something that's not me. And this goes not only for accents, but also for words. I know I always encourage you to use the words you learn. I always encourage you to try and experiment with different accents, with different words, with different vocabulary you come across throughout your life, and that's all fair, that's all valid. However, you have to stop and think, does that represent who I really am? Let's say you are taking an international exam, for example. I have many students asking me, Deborah, but do I have to be formal when I'm taking an international exam? And the answer is no. Why? Because you're taking part in a natural conversation. You're not performing a conversation, for example, with the queen, the deceased queen, or with the pope, right? You're interacting with another human being. Of course, you need to be respectful. Of course, you need to be clear. Of course, you need to show off your level of English. After all, it's an international exam, right? They must know what you know. You must show that you know how to do things, but they're not expecting you to sound like you're writing an essay. And that's for the solely reason that when you're writing an accent, hey Mo, when you're writing an essay, you're writing an essay. So you will get the chance to use such advanced vocabulary and sophisticated structures when you're writing an essay. When you are in the writing part of your test. If you're in the speaking part, there's no need to be super formal. There's no need to be artificial. You can be who you are. And why am I telling you this? Because this is all I did throughout my life. Throughout all the tests that I've taken, I was just like this. I was exactly this. What you're seeing here is what you get, is what my interviewers saw, my interlocutors saw when I was being tested. And I got top grade for speaking every single time, which means you don't need to pose. You know, you don't need to pretend to be someone you're not. And even when you do so, it may sound weird. Let me tell you one thing that happened when I was examining B2 first. I was the interlocutor, and there was a pair of students, and they were doing the speaking test, and they knew what they were doing, but they were clearly not advanced. They were intermediate, which is fine. It is the level we were evaluating B2 first. But they tried to use, probably their teacher told them because it was clear that had happened. They were told to use the expression due to the fact that. And then every time they had a chance, they would say, oh, this girl is having a picnic due to the fact that she's hungry. I mean, that sounds so unnatural. So unnatural. If you use it once, it's okay. You can fit in once in your conversation, but within a time span of 1 minute, you use it 5 times for things that are just colloquial, regular. They don't need it. That was clearly some sort of filter. That was clearly somebody told them, use this expression. You're going to get a good score because of that. No, it wasn't natural. It was rehearsed. It was not fluent, right? It was clearly put together. And that doesn't account for a good grade. That will not give you a good grade. Why? Because you are just showing that you rehearsed well, but you are not aware of appropriacy, so you don't know when it's okay to use certain structure or to repeat ideas. So bear this in mind. Most of the time, these filters, they don't work. They don't work. They will not help you at anything. They're not going to help you achieve anything. Look at Fabio says, be yourself and make sure you're being respectful. That's it, Fabio, of course, right? If you're talking to a superior or you're talking to a teacher, let's put it this way. You were talking to a teacher. For the first time, a person who's evaluating you, you're being evaluated. Are you going to shoot a bad word? Are you going to curse? Of course not, right? That's disrespectful. So that's the idea. Be respectful, be advanced, right? But be consistent. I think that's the main idea. You have to be consistent. And this is what didn't happen to this pair of students, I'm telling you. They were not consistent. Why? Because they used very simple vocabulary and then they added this conjunction due to the fact that that is very formal in a situation that was not appropriate. So that sounds off. And this is not going to give you a good grade because it shows clearly that you don't have the grasp of the criteria of consistency. If you're using more advanced words in a more formal situation with more formal connectors, it all makes sense. If you are having a natural conversation with a teacher, it's okay to use some phrasal verbs, of course, being respectful, but using some phrasal verbs, using natural language, right? Using neutral language and not so polished up language. So having this consistency is key, right? And I want to know Right now, if I invited you right now to come live with me and say, okay, come here with me, let's speak English, join me in this live. I want to hear, let's share. Would you would you do it or would you second guess yourself? Heide, would you gladly say, okay, let's go and jump in? Or would you say, oh my God, but I need to rehearse. I need to know what I'm going to say. I need to find the words. I cannot make mistakes. I need to avoid any kind of mistakes and I need to study before that. What would you do? If your reaction would be this one, this shows that we need to start developing our English so as to be able to remove filters. Option B right there. To remove filters. Yes, you need to be able, and this is something I tell all the time. You have studied English for a long time, so you must be able to put your English to use. Ah, Fabio, you too, huh? You should be able to make use of it when you need it, on the spot. On the spot. Nobody's going to tell you, okay, so tomorrow. Okay, they may, right? They may, if you have a life, it may happen. But tomorrow I need, we'll have a meeting in English and you script everything. That's not the way it should be. Guys, you're teachers. It should be on the spot. It should be on the spot. And how do you make that happen? By practicing, by practicing. B were part, they was part of advanced language practice. Fabio's part of advanced language practice. You know how it works, right? We see things on the spot and we make that happen on the spot. Why not transfer that? Oi, moms, why not transfer that to real life? Why not transfer that to from a supportive environment and a protected environment into the wilderness of Instagram. Wow, that was deep. Into the wilderness of Instagram. Um, English, okay. Live, not that much. Okay, we're gonna work on that. I'm okay. I'm inviting you now to come live with me. I'm daring you to come live with me to talk about advanced language practice. Tell me if we have a deal. So, it is time to practice so much that you don't need those filters anymore. Of course, fear of judgment, there, I know. I know we do have this fear of being judged. And one thing that these filters they give us is exactly that feeling. You need to be perfect or you're not good enough. People around will be judging me. One thing that this filter does to us is that, yes, one thing that these filters do to us is that we see other teachers as holy grails of knowledge and sources of power, and we look up to them so much, and that's good. But we think that we need to be like that. And that's not it. We were not born like that. I mean, I was not born like this. Do you think I was born, going live like this? Of course not. It's training. And my English got, it was already good, but it got much better once I started working with teachers and working online like this and practicing and putting my face here on Instagram and letting people know and judge me if they have to, because that's what we all do, right? We all judge. Some people judge it nicely and keep it to themselves. Some people do it publicly, and sorry, it's their problem, but everybody's gonna do it. So if you prevent yourself from doing what you have to do because you're afraid of being judged, the only person who's being held back is yourself. And although these filters, they make other people look amazing and they make you look amazing too, you should know that what you see is not what you get. So probably that live or that reel or whatever, that was fully scripted. It was rehearsed. The teacher got every single word they wouldn't know how to pronounce and they repeated it in the backstage so that they would say correctly. Why can't you do the same? Right? Again, in the process, it's all fine. It's all fine. But the idea is that one day you will get rid of these filters and you will be able to be who you are regardless of the language. Again, intensity changes, right? You will not be 100% who you are in English as you are who you are in Portuguese. And there's even that trend that talks about the voices, like, oh, this is my voice in Portuguese, this is my voice in Spanish, this is my voice in English. So if the voice changes, and we have studies saying that even personality changes, why can't you, right? I mean, why do you expect that you won't? Quite the opposite. You may be a little bit different, but the idea is to be as close as possible to who you are as a person in English or in Portuguese or in Spanish or in French, whatever language you're speaking. The idea is that you're able to express your ideas, you can convey your message in the intensity you desire, regardless of the language you're using, despite the fact that you're going online or not, whether you're going online or not. Okay. The idea is that you're able to be who you are. You don't need to be extra aware of yourself because you're speaking English. And that's what happens. That's what happens to a lot of people who get stuck in their English. Every time they're going to start speaking English, they become so self-aware that for every single thing they're going to say, they go like, is it how you say it? Is this the correct expression? Is this the correct pronunciation? They second guess so often that they hesitate too much and they end up losing or appearing to be less self-confident. And this is worse than making mistakes. Because when you accept that mistakes are going to happen, what do? You speak fluently. You go ahead, you jump into the arms of the unknown. Oh, I'm very poetic today. And if you realize you make a mistake, you have made a mistake, just what I did now. If you realize you've made a mistake, you go back and you correct yourself. As simple as that. As simple as no drama. No drama. Deborah, but it's recorded forever. So what? Does this disqualify you from everything you've done in life? Does this make you less fluent, less good as a teacher? Of course not. This shows you're human, and human connects. What's human in this era of AI, what's human is what really connects. So when you show students that making mistakes is just part of normal life, it's part of English, it's part of whatever it is that you're learning and whatever it is that you're doing. How many times, I mean, I've been a teacher for over 20 something years, 22 years now, 22 years now. And sometimes in class, I notice, I could have made this slide less complex. I could have explained this in a better way. What do? I start over. So if even for things you've been doing your entire life, you still need to reframe, come back and redo it, why not with your English? And why not show your students that this is just natural? When you do this, when you show them and they trust you, okay, I'm gonna go to a next step right now, but when you show them that this is a possibility and they trust you, you are helping them build their own self-confidence. You are helping them understand that everything is part of the process and it is acceptable. And then again, I'm gonna tell you one thing as professionals, right? It's fine to make a mistake if you don't make mistakes so often, right? Because if you do it, then you're not ready. This is something to have in mind. You must be excellent at what you do. You don't need to be perfect because perfection is a myth, it doesn't exist, but you must be excellent. And if you are paving your path to excellence, let's say you're studying for your first Cambridge certificate, you're studying for B2 first, of course you're going to make lots of mistakes. Of course you're learning. That's why you're not teaching C1 students. That's why you're teaching students who know less than you. That's why you are trailing this path. That's you're paving this path, right? You are working to make it happen. And when you are working to improve, not being quite there yet is just part of the game. So if I'm training to run 10 kilometers, I don't run one, okay? Just to make it clear, I don't run 1 kilometer. But let's say I'm training to run 10. I'm not gonna start the first day running 10. I'll start running 500 meters and being short of breath. Then I'm gonna move on and go for 1 kilometer till I become good at 1 kilometer, and then two, and then three, and then four. And only when I'm ready, I'm gonna go to 10. Hi, kiddo. So it's not fair with yourself to have, like, I have many students, hi, Deborah, I'm sorry, I didn't pass this mock test. It was the first mock test. Ah, you were expecting to pass the first mock test. Which universe are you in right now? Yes, you're here preparing. I'm guiding you. I'm holding your hand to help you grow in the process in order to become someone who will pass the exam. That's the deal. This is what you should have in mind. So every time you think about applying a filter to your English, think about it. Are you just masking it, or you are really working towards development? Because it's one thing, I could, for example, imagine you do no skincare, you wear no makeup. The only thing you do is come on Instagram and put on a filter. And you expect to look good when filter is off? Not gonna happen. Sorry to tell you that. Not gonna happen. The same thing goes with your English. You may rehearse very well and have, ChatGPT script everything you want to say in a reel and come clean and, come to your reel looking very put together and very authoritative, knowing your thing, knowing what you're doing online. But when this filter is off, who's behind it, right? Who's behind when the filter is not working? When it happens, like it happened some time ago, everybody was saying that Instagram filters would disappear. I must tell you, I was kind of scared, but it was like, okay, I can handle, just, work harder on the makeup and we can do it. But what if in a very beautiful morning, a teacher comes live and invites you to join her live, and you have no opportunity to rehearse, to put on the filter? What would that be like? So think about it. It's okay not to be quite there yet if you are paving the path to getting there. And this is what I'm here to challenge you to do. I want to challenge you to pave the path to getting rid of filters, to being able to come here to express yourself, to explore your own language, who you are, to show who you are, to share who you are without a fear of judgment, without a fear of not being able to. I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to feel confident, and I want to help you pave the path to achieve this with your English. After all, you've been studying for so long, right? It's only fair that you're able to put it to use. It's only fair that you're able to take advantage of everything you've been doing this entire time. And if you need help, if you need guidance, I have groups for teachers to explore their own language. I have group for teachers where they can um, think deeper about concepts that would otherwise not be so clear. So I like to put you into challenging situations. I think you have realized that, right? So I'm always up to a new challenge, and I'm always encouraging you to take up new challenges and grow. Grow as teachers, grow as human beings, and grow as English speakers. So here's my challenge. I challenge you to record a story in English. No filter. Okay, you can have face filters, that's fine, but no filter in your English. And tag me because I want to see how it goes. Okay, that's the challenge for today. Tomorrow we'll have a live with teacher Fernanda. She's going to tell us how she went from someone who was really insecure with her own English because she was teaching only basic students to someone who can carry out a debate in an advanced topic about AI, for instance, without even a glimpse of self-doubt. Okay, so tomorrow we have this special guest in our lives. two lives this week. You see, I'm inspired. So two lives this week to make up for the week I was sick and for the week I was recovering. I'm trying to catch up with that. Um, so again, recap, challenge, record a story in English and tag me. I want to see how it goes. All right, guys, bye-bye. See you tomorrow. See you on Instagram. Let me know how it goes. Tag me. See ya.